If you've ever felt like you lose yourself in relationships, like you give more, care more, sacrifice more, and somehow still feel like you're about to be abandoned, your brain might be running something psychologists never fully explain. Picture this. It's 11 p.m. You're lying in bed, staring at your phone. They haven't replied in 3 hours, and instead of feeling annoyed, you feel terrified, not because something bad happened, but because silence, to you, has always meant one thing: you're losing them. So let me ask you something, and be honest. Have you ever stayed quiet about something that hurt you? Not because it didn't matter, but because you were afraid of what speaking up might cost you. Have you ever said it's fine when your whole body was screaming it was not fine at all? Here's what no one tells you about that pattern. The longer you stay silent to keep someone, the more of yourself you lose to keep them. And here's the painful part. The person you end up losing most isn't them, it's you. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what love survival mode looks like, why your nervous system creates it, and the one shift that changes everything. Stay with me. This isn't a video about finding the right person. It's not about dating advice, or red flags, or attachment types. This is about something deeper. It's about the version of you that learned early that love has conditions, that if you need too much, you'll be left, that if you show too much, you'll be seen as too much, that the safest way to be loved is to make yourself as easy as possible to keep. So you became low maintenance, flexible, endlessly understanding, not because that's who you truly are, but because that felt like the only way to stay. If any of that just hit something real for you, this video is for you. Keep watching. Here's what I want you to understand before we go any further. And this is the part that most relationship videos completely miss. The reason you lose yourself in love has nothing to do with weakness. It has everything to do with what your nervous system learned love feels like before you were old enough to choose differently. Your brain built a survival blueprint, and right now, that blueprint is quietly running your relationships. Let me show you exactly what that looks like. I want you to imagine someone. They care, they show up, they try genuinely. But here's what's happening underneath. They check their phone 5 times before sending a message. They rewrite texts 3 times so they don't sound too needy. They wait 2 hours to reply, pretending they aren't anxious. They say, "I'm fine," in a tone that sounds like a question. They cancel plans with friends just to be available if he calls, not because they're dramatic, not because they're weak, but because unpredictability to them once meant danger. So they adapted. They became the easy one, the one who never asks for too much, the one who says, "Do whatever you want," hoping it won't mean being left behind. They give more, so they won't have to ask. They shrink more, so they won't take up too much space. They perform love because performing feels safer than receiving it. Psychologists have a name for parts of this. They call it anxious attachment, but that description misses something important, because what you're actually doing isn't just attachment, it's survival. It's what happens when your nervous system can't tell the difference between a relationship and a threat. So it treats both the same way. And here's how it shows up. You stop being your own priority because you were taught that would be selfish. You measure your worth by how useful you are, how needed, how irreplaceable. Your partner becomes your everything: best friend, therapist, emotional anchor, the one who completes you. That language belongs in fairy tales. In real life, it's the language of someone in survival. You feel anxious, and that anxiety turns into control, not because you want power, but because you're trying to manage emotions no one taught you to hold alone. Don't come home too late. I can't sleep. Why didn't you reply? Tell me everything is okay. That's not controlling another person. That's a cry for emotional safety from someone who never learned how to create it for themselves. And here's the biggest irony of love survival mode, the one that most people never see. The harder you try to keep someone, the more pressure the relationship begins to feel. And the more pressure it feels, the more they pull away. Not because love isn't there, but because love survival mode slowly turns connection into a test neither of you signed up for. Here's what no one teaches you about boundaries. They don't begin with saying no. They begin with noticing. Noticing when you feel tight instead of calm. Noticing when you say yes, but your body means no. Noticing when you stay quiet, just to keep the peace. That tightness isn't drama. That's data. Your nervous system saying, this costs more than it gives. Boundaries aren't walls. They're the language of self-respect, spoken without apology. A boundary sounds like, I need time to think. I'm not comfortable with that. I need more consistency, not perfection, just consistency. I don't feel safe with the way this conversation is going. Not accusations, not ultimatums, just truth without apology. And here's what no one prepares you for. When you stop abandoning yourself, some people will leave, not because you did something wrong, but because they were benefiting from you having nothing left for yourself. And that loss will confuse you, because it hurts, even when it's right. You might wonder, am I asking for too much? Am I ruining something that could have worked? But ask yourself this instead. Why did it only work when I stayed small? Healthy connection doesn't require performance. It doesn't require shrinking your needs to make someone else comfortable. It requires presence, and presence requires safety, not perfection, not constant happiness, just enough stability that you don't have to brace for impact. So I want you to sit with these, gently. No judgment. Where do you go silent to keep connection? Where do you overgive to avoid loss? Where do you stay when your body is already asking you to leave? Where have you stopped choosing yourself to keep someone else comfortable? And here's how you know which mode you're in. Do you replay conversations looking for signs they're pulling away? Do you feel anxious when they seem distracted, even if nothing is wrong? Do you apologize more than you should, more than they deserve? Have you stopped doing things that matter to you just to stay available? Do you feel more relief when they're happy than when you are? If 3 or more of these sound familiar, you're probably not loving from connection. You're loving from survival. Not to punish yourself for that, just to see it. Because awareness is where choice begins, and choice is where you start coming back to yourself. If this video described something you felt, comment the word aware below. I read every single comment. And if someone in your life needs to hear this today, share it with them. You don't need to become harder to protect yourself. You don't need to become colder to stay in control. You just need to stop leaving yourself to keep someone else. Love survival mode kept you safe when you had no other choice, but you have a choice now. Love isn't something you survive. It's something you rest inside. And the moment you stop treating connection like danger is the moment you stop confusing endurance with love. I'll see you in the next one.